Hello, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram users. FOBL Fuego here with another episode of Burning the Salt, episode number 9. It is about to be 12:30 on November the 30th, 2017. The last few weeks, I have not been able to post a lot of content due to the fact that I had to fill in a spot for someone that traveled to Mexico City. And let me just say, Mexico City was beautiful. It's crowded, and we went to Acapulco afterwards. I loved it, enjoyed it. It was hot over there. So it was funny when we came back, it was freaking cold. But all in all, I had a fun time. I missed doing this content with you guys and trying to knock off the ring rust from Street Fighter 5. So that continuing on that end. But I also want to give a quick shout out to the people that have been donating the codes for the Street Fighter 5 Red Bull colors. Todd Hoffler basically providing the majority of the colors for me, and I cannot say thank you enough. I will help you out a lot, buddy, soon. Trust me, I will pay you back in full. And not only that, a guy named under the name Fighter TV on YouTube, he actually sent me 2 codes, and unfortunately I was not able to apply them because one, I was out of town and I could not do it, and he made them public basically. So Fighter TV, thank you for your help. I appreciate you. I will give you another shout out in a future video, but this is the one I'm doing for the podcast. But I will give you a definite shout out on either gameplay or something, because I'm gonna dedicate 2 colors for you. And so yeah, thank you again, guys, for helping me out. And not only that, I was not expecting for the Red Bull can video to reach over 300 views. And I got 3 dislikes on it and 1 like, and I can understand why people dislike the video. Of course, you know, it makes me look like a freeloader, but at the same time, I know people that drink Red Bull and do not play this game, and I'm just using my platform to politely ask. And I've even said in the original video as well, if you don't want to give me the code, that's fine. You know, that's to your prerogative. But it would really help me out a lot if you're drinking Red Bull and if you have the code, send it to me and I can show you what it unlocked. That way I could dedicate you in one of the future videos that, you know, shows off what you helped me unlock. I've been able to get a few of mine as well. I only have 4 more colors to go, but that's going to be in the near future. So as of right now, everything's going good. If you got a code, send it over here. You can that way I can unlock it. Excuse me. So the point of this video, or I should say podcast, is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. It's the current status of the fighting games that are out now, meaning Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, you know, Injustice 2, etc., etc. And I noticed some things that have kind of like progressed in time as far as the tendencies that other games that have suffered from the last generation games, which is like Street Fighter 4, Injustice 1, Mortal Kombat X, you know, not MK9, just to name a few, right? And I want to talk about the one game that I notice is the most on, okay? And there's a reason why I want to talk about this. Back in the early 2000s, I actually got to play a game called Soul Edge. Okay, I do not know the actual date that game was released, but that was one of the first few games that I actually played in the arcade and actually thoroughly enjoyed. And I got to play Soul Calibur 2 in another arcade called Power Play, where the original one was torn down and they rebuilt a new arcade in its place on the other end of the mall, and got to play the new modes that were on there, which is kind of like a conquest where you get to go around different spots fighting different, you know, kind of like different scenarios, and you get, you know, better weapons or you know, basically unlocking stuff. And it was one of the first few games that I actually get to use a passcode in the arcade cabinets, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So Soul Calibur 2 is my favorite game as far as the series. So of course I was excited whenever they announced Soul Calibur 3. When I played Soul Calibur 3, I noticed there was a huge difference from what Soul Calibur 2 was. Soul Calibur 2 was fast paced, very arcade feely, and it was actually like very fun, loose, and you could do customizable combos. I like to say, like, it gave you a little bit of free reign to express yourself and how to use a character in your own form or matter. But when 3 came out, I noticed that it was a tad bit slower, a little bit more precise, like it was like fine-tuned a little bit more than it was supposed to, and it basically hindered me just a little bit from continuing to play the game. What saved it was that it was it was the first game to do the full customization, which I had a fun time doing, which making fun of like a lot of costumes, and I had a fun time with it in the end. Now, I should note that whenever these games were out, I did not play in tournament with these games. These were just strictly for fun. It was against me and my brother and possibly my cousin Hector, Soldier. And we basically just kept fighting one another. And we kept having fun. When Soul Calibur 4 came out, it was even more slower. But it was more precise. And they added a little bit more. They added like the super meter to it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in Soul Calibur 4. And then when Soul Calibur 5 came out, which I avoided altogether, it at that point I kind of like gave up on the series. Why did I give up on the series? For one, and I noticed this a lot in this series, which is going to parallel to a lot of different games in a minute, that what attracted me to the game in the first place was completely altered and took out the one thing that I enjoyed from the game: the expression. Now, you can still do the expression in the game, but you have to do it within its new boundaries of each set game that they're accustomed to, which is fine because it kept the core mechanic of the game the way it is, which is not bad. But they changed things just slightly to make it be like not the same as the last iteration, to the point to where it's not going to be like, oh, it's just like this game or just like that game from the last time, which I totally get. You always want to progress forward. The reason why I say this because with this game is because, for one, possibly in the next few weeks there might be announcing a Soul Calibur 6, apparently, okay? And at this point, I'm not sure if I even want to even touch it, because I know it going in a direction where it wasn't an arcadey feel game anymore. It felt more towards precision, accuracy, timing, and and some combos. Which is not to say it's a bad game. I'm saying this from the point of view of myself noticing the changing games that kind of got me to not enjoy the future iterations. And I wasn't the only one. As far as that, like, I got into Tekken 2, loved it. Tekken 3, loved it. Tekken 4, freaking loved it. Tekken 5, oh my god, I loved it. And then Tekken 6, hated it. Hated it. And why? Is because, for one, what killed it for me at the time was the bounce system. It did not make sense to me to have something where you could bounce, like falling like forever, falling like for 5 seconds, for the combo to continue, just so they could kill you in one succession. Tekken Tag Tournament 2 continued to have the bounce system, but it made sense. It continued the combo for your other attack partner to come in, and gave it enough time for them to do extensive damage as you're being bounced to the ground. That made sense, which I did eventually enjoy that system. Tekken 7 came out, and the bounce system is not even there anymore. There is a slight little hiccup that's there, like where you get hit on the floor, but you're not falling forever. So it's like the timing has been cut like in half, so the timing is slightly tighter. the game itself is fun, and no lie, I've just been using Akuma since I'm stuck in the Street Fighter phase right now. But all the other characters, from what I'm seeing, is everyone's enjoying the game, and people are showing some new tech that some people have not seen, and people are enjoying it. But I noticed that some of the top players in Houston that used to play Tekken 6 going into Tekken 7, they say they didn't like it. And it's fair to say, because for them, because they've actually mentioned this before, all the work that they put into Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament 2 did not really transfer over to Tekken 7. And I really got to see this firsthand by my cousin Soldier. He uses Nina in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and in Tekken 6. And he knows the bound combos, which makes him fall forever to continue combos. And for the life of him, he can't do them in this game, as of right now. It's not that he can't do the combos, is that he's still used to the old mentality that he's accustomed to, and it doesn't work anymore. He has to figure out a new way to make those combos work, and he has to adapt. No pun intended on the title, which shows the birth, nerf, patch, and adapt. But it basically shows that the games are constantly evolving, and he still plays to this day. Like, so he's still learning the new tech. So eventually, he will know a new combo that will be accustomed to what the game is setting on its limitations, that he could be accustomed to, and show off what he can do, because he is that kind of a person. He is a combo monster, so he's gonna get better at that. And like Tekken 7, like they're not liking it. Not that they don't like it, is like it's not the same from the last iteration. And then it brings me back to Street Fighter. Played Street Fighter 2, loved, I fell in love with Street Fighter in general because of that. Never got into too serious with that game, just played it for fun. Completely missed out on Third Strike, so I never really got to play it. Street Fighter 4 came out, got it on day one. Played it for a few, I want to say for a few months. And then by the time Super came out, continued to play it, and then eventually around the area where I used to play it at, the one person I used to play with was my brother, and he was gone, so I had no reason to play it anymore. And I noticed that the game kept on having iterations and changes to it, updates, and frame data changes. So it was heading in a direction where it kind of left it now, where you buy one game. Well, of course you have to buy the disc, of course, if you didn't have it originally. But the updates and stuff, you have to keep playing the game and keep doing this and that, just to keep up what's going on with everyone. And throughout that life cycle of Street Fighter 4, I kept hearing, this game sucks. This game is no good. It's nothing like Third Strike. And I remember looking at an old trailer for Street Fighter 4, and it says Focus is the new mechanic that's going to be, and using Focus is what it's all about. And I look at it and I'm like, originally I was like, Focus is cool and all, but why only one hit? Why only absorb one hit? You get jabbed twice and you're out of the focus. Or if you hit with a special move that had armor breaking properties, you be launched, to the other, 90 feet up to the other side, and the other person has advantage on whenever you wake up or something. But I understand where that game was coming from, because it was separating itself from Third Strike. Now, much later iterations, where we eventually reached Ultra, which is preferably my favorite version of Street Fighter 4, added the red focus, which adds multiple hits while you sacrifice 2 or 3 meters. 3 meters if you're doing a combo, hit confirmed, but it calls a crumple. But 2 meters it by itself, and you could almost take up as much hits as you can as long as your health allowed you to, which was neat, which I loved, I enjoyed, and that was like the most fun I had with the game. And by the time that Street Fighter V was gonna come out, people were like, "Oh, they're gonna be doing this, they're gonna be doing that. They're adding the V reversal system. They're gonna be having V triggers. Add new things." Which at the time, I was not excited about it because I was still playing 4. A good friend of mine got me the beta. Played the beta. Was on a win streak. And I actually was getting more convinced on the game. I got more excited. So, fast forward to where it is now. Currently in the platinums on both my PC and PS4. And kind of taking it easy because I've been hearing things that they might reset the rankings when AE comes out, which is a possible thing. And honestly, there's no reason to continue the ranks if that's gonna be a thing. I want to kind of like let it ride out on top and enjoy the fruits of my labors. And whenever the thing comes back on AE, I could actually reclaim my current spot and if not go even further. But since Street Fighter V has been out, and people have been saying, "Oh my God, Street Fighter 4 is such a better game. Oh, I love that game so much," and all this stuff. And I'm like, the same people that were talking bad about Street Fighter 4 are praising Street Fighter 4 later because what Street Fighter 5 doesn't have. Like, Street Fighter 4 made things safe where you could, did a special move, and on block you could FADC cancel to dash backwards to, kind of like make your move safe or, be safe. That's all it is. And Street Fighter 5 is more committed based, where you actually have to, if you're gonna swing, take a swing. If you're gonna push a button, you better press it right before the other person hits the other button. And it's the kind of style that people are not accustomed to. And people that learned the FADC combos, like the plinking motions, the option select text, the throw loops, the dive setups, the 50-50s from the last game, did not really translate well to this current game. And a lot of people don't like that. Some people have complained that they cannot express themselves because the combos are too generic, or it doesn't allow a lot of imagination to do things. It doesn't have that tight framing inputs that require in some combos to make people get excited about. And to be honest with you, that is true. Some people like this game does not allow for that. Does that make it a bad game? No. It makes it to where it shows how you as a player can actually play a game and commit to something where people don't like for example, just to give a perfect example, on Street Fighter 4 I could never do counter hit combos. Happened way too fast. Okay? And I'm not gonna lie, it bothered me because I can't do it. I really can't. Like, I could try, and some things where, and it's impressive to see other people do it, but ever since Street Fighter 5 came out, with the inclusion of crush counter, it gives me that satisfaction of like that solid hit that that crumples something, and you can continue a combo. Now that's not to say that I just rely on crush counters. I know how to punish certain things now that will cause counters and actually can continue combos now that I was not able to do before. Another gripe that people had is that, oh, in this game you can't really whiff punish. Like, it wasn't really that heavy like of a footsie base where Street Fighter 4 was, and this move would beat this move would beat that, and you have to figure out which ones to press. This one kind of relies on it more, but it depends on what strength you use, and usually the higher priority will beat the lesser of the button that your opponent presses. Like heavy would beat light if timed properly, it would cause a crush counter, or medium. But if you didn't move it in time, if you try to do heavy kick, if the other person already pressed light punch, they're gonna get hit out of the heavy animation. So it's a progression kind of thing where people are still not accustomed to, and it's weird because I remember when Street Fighter 4 came out, I went in there with just my enjoyment, and I did not have the mentality of the FGC to where I could get better. When Street Fighter 5 came out, I took what I learned from Street Fighter 4 as far as the idea of how I should go into the game, learn what's good, do this, do that, and then apply it to my own setting. Doing the homework, going on YouTube, do this, do that. Like currently, right now, I'm looking over some tech that I'm gonna use on Bison for cross-up setups. But the idea is that I never did that in Street Fighter 4. Now, I've asked for help at the time to get to do the plinking with a good friend of mine, PHS Juices, and he helped me out a lot, and by that changed my gameplay forever in Street Fighter 4. But plinking does not really apply to all the characters in this current situation. It only applies to one character, and that's Karine, which is kind of weird. That only one of her combos can do that, and it's not even the right plink style. You have to do it in the opposite direction that you would do it before. So, what happened? Why are the new games doing this? And it's not just Capcom. Namco. Eventually, like all these other companies, they do that to make their games fresh. And I feel that Arcade Edition is gonna have another reboot as far as Season 3. Move properties might change, or they might keep it the same for a little bit, since it happened like maybe 2 months after they did a 2.5 update where they're probably gonna let it run a whole year or something. But it showed me that the games have to progress in order to stay, I want to say, relatable. Meaning, if the game stays in the same state, it becomes stagnant. And one game that I can say that, which surprised me that did not stay stagnant, because people kept playing it, because if anything, it just survived. That would be UMVC 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And it only had maybe 2 updates, and those were only to fix bugs in the game, or issues or glitches that were game breaking. And after that, it just stayed the same. And people had to just use that, and people grinded to the point to where they're just gonna use what they have and be the best. And if you can figure out how to do it, that'll be the new thing that said person figured out, and they get accredited for it too. So it stayed in a weird sense that the game, even though it stopped what it was, the reality was that the palette was so grand at the time that people basically almost nearly exhausted all of its resources in the game itself. And I say nearly because there's still a lot of stuff on there that they're still yet to be seen in that game. But in that vein, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out, and it's slower than UMVC 3. It's 1 character less. Instead of a 3v3, it's a 2v2. And the combo systems are simplified. And some people don't like that. And from Capcom's end, they're trying to bring in the new generation of players to play the game, which is commendable, because you want to build the next generation, but how do you satisfy the current generation? You really can't. Not really. The only way that you could actually satisfy them is by keep doing your thing with the game, because this is one little thing that kind of bothered me a bit. people are saying, "Oh, we want to see Sakura, we want to see Sagat, we want to see, this said character." The same thing happened when they wanted to see Urien. The same thing they wanted to see Akuma. The same thing with Balrog. People tend to be in the hype train, and then they would just drop the character because they didn't like how they did the character. My cousin was happy to use Juri, and he didn't like the way that she turned out. Why? They're all accustomed to a certain style in a previous game that they enjoyed. The only character that I can actually say that actually almost stayed true to that form and stayed true throughout everything, that would be Ryu. Okay? Ryu is literally the one character that I can say that nearly everything is done right for him. You can't go wrong with him as far as that. He's the most balanced that he's ever been. Some things that I wish he had, like I wish he had the donkey kick, honestly, which I was hoping he would have straight from the get-go, but he didn't have it. But the fact that he stayed true throughout all the iterations of the games shows that he's there for you if you're trying to figure out this game, which I would too on the very first match. Birdie doesn't play the same, Curry doesn't play the same, Ken doesn't really play the same. They added new things to him to make it feel completely different. So why would people think people would want to see either Sakura or Sagat? And to be honest with you, I can say, for one, Sakura for the rushdown, and for Sagat, they want that keep away game where he keeps throwing the fireball and the Shoryuken. Basically, they wanted to see how he would fare in this new environment. And to be honest with you, I'm curious about that as well, because to be honest, and it's coming from that someone that's been playing 5 a whole lot more, characters can deal with fireballs more than none that they can do in Street Fighter 4. Now, granted, they use the focus attack to do the absorb, but you're talking about like Bison could, grab the fireball, either store it or throw it back at him. Ryu can parry it, Alex can parry it, Chun-Li could jump over it, Geef could flex or do the lariat. Ken, if he's in V-trigger, he could do the Tatsu and he'll knock the fireball out of, everyone has their own ways of dealing with fireballs. Karin could do the little charge thing, then she'll duck right under it or through it, depending on the property. Or it can reflect it back with this which is Aegis Reflector. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really seem that adding either Sagat or Sakura would be an oh my god moment for me. Now, will I be excited for them? I'll be happy that they're included. It's a new style that I want to learn. And I get this question asked to me a lot, like, well, what do you want to see? Is there a character that you always wanted to have in the game? And he's already been teased in the story mode, but I really want to see Oro. And I got to play Oro just for a little bit in Third Strike, and I want to see what they can do with him in this game. Now, granted, I don't think they're gonna make his normals that good, as far as like few hits and it'll cause a stun, but I would like to see how this would turn out in this manner, and I'll definitely give him a try. But is it enough for me to say, do I want to disconnect this game? I don't want to play anymore, or uninstall it, or keep on playing it? At the moment, I'm still playing this game. I'm probably going to ride it out till the end, which is what I want to do. But at the same time, I have to be mindful of, is it worth it? Like, is it worth me putting in my time in this game? And as of right now, it's showing, because I'm completely doing well as of right now. Am I winning tournaments? No. Can I beat the people that I know? Yes. That's a definite yes. And the point is that if it's not for me to win tournaments, it's at least to say that I can throw my hat in there and actually compete and keep people from winning. My goal is to mess up the brackets for some people. That's my goal. But I can't do that unless I don't practice or train. And to be honest with you, I enjoy Street Fighter Five in its current state. I enjoy Tekken 7. And just to be like a little bit of shits and giggles, I actually went to I played Street Fighter 4 on the PS4. I've been on record and say this is literally the worst port of the game, which I'm surprised I played the Pro Tour on this game console. But I actually went to excuse me. I was updating some stuff on my other games, and I was like, you know, I'm playing Street Fighter 4, and I fought this one Ryu, and I gotta lie, I got bodied. I got bodied pretty hard, and it got to the point to where he started sending me hate mail. He called me an idiot, you know, like, you know, F word. I'm like, and at first I'm thinking, man, I don't really see this kind of hate in 5. But when I was playing Street Fighter 4, it was never this bad. And he would taunt me, and he would do all this stuff, and I just replied, you know, say, you know, good games, you know, that was it. And he basically just said, no, there's no excuse if you're only playing for one day. And I just respond back, well, I'll be gladly to face you in Street Fighter 5. And he's like, nah, man, I don't play that trash. So at that moment, he's staying in a game where there's no longer progression for it, because he does not want to adapt to the new style. Which is fine. If you want to do that, that's just totally in your prerogative, because that it's not just Street Fighter 4. People have been doing it with the old 16-bit games as well. But if you're gonna do that, why be a dick about it, you know? It's like, it doesn't make sense. And not only that, like, to be honest with you, you don't need to do much to do a taunt in Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 5, you gotta hit all 6 buttons, or if you have the buttons mapped out into buttons, if you time it wrong, it won't come out either. So it's harder to taunt. So if you can do it, they're like, oh yeah, you can have it timed. Street Fighter 4, you can do it whenever. It's not really that bad. But it is like, why stay behind in a game, talk so much trash, and not try to make yourself better in a newer game? Because that's what I'm doing. Like, I will say Street Fighter 4 got me from where I was in the bottom to at least be competent in the game, to the point to where I was just a threat in my own right by the character that I fell in love with, which was Rolento. And Street Fighter 5 kind of humbled me a bit to where I have to stay true to myself and actually learn the fighting game. The tendencies that I have in 4 did transfer over just a little bit in Street Fighter 5. I still catch critical cards more often than none than I've ever done before. And it's... the difference is my success rate is a lot higher than I was in 4. Because I already had the experience on how to go into a new game. People that were doing better in 4, or godlike in 4, are not really doing so hot in Street Fighter 5. It's a weird situation. It's a weird... I don't want to say problem, but in a weird sense, it's kind of like it's a repeating cycle over and over again. I bet you this is going to happen in Street Fighter 6, if there is a Street Fighter 6 coming out. They'd be like, oh, Street Fighter 5 was so much better, and all this and that. I'm like, okay. Now it's just people complaining about certain stuff. And because people want to commit, and if they don't like it, they'll let you know. But is it worth you uninstalling? Some people are getting upset that whenever they try and do stuff, then they lose the stupid stuff, and they're like, I cannot beat this. And they just want to quit. I felt like that too. But I had to go into the lab, figure out what punishes what, and get better at it to the point to where if I ran into that again, I know how to fight it. And if I lose, it's not that I'm bad. It's just that I lost to in a different way than I would have lost before. Because going into the platinums, there's like it's like above average. But when you start going into like to the diamond territories, that's where like the people are like the hardcore people are playing, and you're trying to beat them. Luckily, I've been able to beat a few of them, but it's like it's a whole new league than what you're used to. So for me, I do enjoy the newer games that are out now because for one, I am adapting. There are some games that I've played, not that they're bad, but I've devoted more time to Street Fighter V than none because I want to keep getting better at this game. I'll be going back into Injustice 2 because they announced the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I want to play that so bad, but that'll be until next year. DBZ Fighters is coming out too. All these fighting games coming out is going to be such a weird time for fighting games. This year was like a lot of stuff that came out. Next year I hope more things come out, but for the better, and I want to see progression with everybody. There's nothing wrong playing with games that are like new to you, because I see it as a challenge, and if you rise up to that challenge and you show what you can do, you can beat a good amount of people that you wouldn't even believe. And the results of your grinding and your training will actually show better than none than you would think, because it's a rewarding game to learn. Okay, I ran into one player that he was using Akuma for the first time on Street Fighter V, and he tried to use him like if he was in Street Fighter 4. Some combos do translate well, like the crouching medium kick, light tatsu into Shoryu. That still worked. But as far as like the combo extenders, he didn't know. And he's like, yeah, I don't like this character anymore. And I showed him, dude, all you gotta do is learn his new setups. That's with any game. You have to learn it. And I chose Akuma, and then I showed him what you can do with him, and I did like a really, really nice combo with him. And by him showing me that, by me showing him that, he was like, oh yeah, he's actually is cool. I'm like, yeah, you just gotta learn it. You gotta put in the time. I had to put in the time. I had to play Trials over and over again just for me to get the combos right, to me know it by muscle memory. And it shows. And will I use Akuma in tournament one day? Not now. But Akuma is the character that I'm using right now to have fun with, and he's actually doing a lot better than what I thought he would. I wish his health was better, but it still sucks. But I can still do those combos and have people hype around me, which is the point. I want people to like this game. I want people to not enjoy it to the point to where like they're obsessed with it, but at least if I could show them what the characters can do, it may bring their attention, if not either Street Fighter V, but an interest in playing other games as well. As far as the current gen players that are there now, including myself, we're gonna phase out soon. It's time to start getting the new generation in, helping them out, and get rid of this whole arcade mentality that you have to get good at this game to the point to where, I learned it on my own. Not everyone was the same. The internet's there too. People can learn stuff now they could back then. But instead of me just keeping the tech to myself, I rather share the wealth and actually help people get their characters better, or basically help them avoid how to avoid some of those setups. Because like I said, I'm currently making a video right now where I'm figuring out the setups where like the timing that I'm doing, and this is something that I saw from my brother that he sent me about Bison Tech, and and I'm gonna use it eventually, but I gotta practice it more. Back then, I would never do that. I would learn on my own, and that hindered me a lot. So the games are not bad. It's the people. We all have to adapt. We all have to adapt, even though if you want to use a certain character that you enjoy, or a character you consider high tier or low tier, it doesn't really matter. If you want to use that character, it's your best interest to learn everything you can about that character. If you can't, you can ask for help. If people can't help you, find somewhere else that can help you. There's someone out there that can show you some tech, really. There's someone out there. But if it gets to the point to where if you cannot, excel in the game, and if you're not just not having fun with it anymore, but you can't just do it, you just can't stand it anymore, then you can leave the game. Now that doesn't mean you can talk trash about it. It just means that you want to go somewhere else, put your hand in another game, and try it out. You can say at that point, like, yeah, I didn't enjoy it because of this or that, but that doesn't mean you can trash the game. You know what I mean? Like, I had people trash the game that I'm playing right now just because I feel like they can't play it. And to be fair, nobody wants to play me in this game from my friends, because they know how much I've been playing this, they know how certain setups, they know what I can do. But at the same time, I have offered them help, saying I can teach you some stuff that I know. I can teach you a new character, I can teach you this or that. It's like, it's not like complete blowout that I'm not allowing people to have, enjoy the game. I'm giving them something to fight for, like an initiative to continue to play it, because that's what you really want. You want people to keep playing the game, and you want to see the future of it. So that's it. That's all I have to say. I do enjoy these newer games, and not against the older ones, but I will say that we're only going forward, and if people want to go in the past to just play the games that they used to play when they're younger and actually get better at that, they can totally do that. And for the people that want to continue going forward, we can totally do that as well too. But we cannot be hindering each other about, oh, this game sucks, or this game's bad, or this or that, because one, it's not everyone's cup of tea, and we're starting to see that. Like, as soon as these new games start coming out, or they're like, oh, I'm gonna play this game whenever this game comes out, everyone starts getting filtered out, and to the people that really want to play the game, like the people that really want to play Street Fighter 5, are really gonna show up in that moment, and those people are continuing to get better. And to be honest with you, I want to be one of those people. I've been playing this game since day one, and I want to keep going until the very end, to at least show that I was at least able to say I stuck to this game and grew to embrace it for what it is and learn from it. So that's all, guys. That's all I gotta say. You guys may have a good night. Any future things happening in the, as far as that, just be safe, be careful, be safe going do your shopping for Christmas, and take care of your families. Alright? Keep on fighting, fighters. Later.